I'm Michelle Jaramillo, Director of Education Initiatives for the San Diego Foundation. We are a county-wide community foundation. Our mission is to inspire philanthropy towards solutions to our critical quality of life issues in the region. I am so grateful to Inez, to Pique, Iliana, Dr. Gloria Corral, who is also on the board of the San Diego Foundation. So we're really, really grateful to both of you for bringing together this moment, and grateful that we were able to be a part of it.
There's a crisis in our education system, and many Latino students and many students are being left behind. Perhaps our children and our nephews and nieces are doing well and they're going to college, but the fact is that only 30 to 35% of Latino students here in San Diego are achieving the standards, the state standards in English and math. That's a crisis. So 70% of Latino students are being left behind. So we decided, Pique and Gloria Corral, Dr. Gloria Corral will not be able to join us. Her father passed away very recently, and so we send our condolences to her. But Pique has been incredible in this, and you're gonna hear the work that they're doing with the parents. But the reason we brought you together is we think that you, community leaders in education, can come up with actionable items. That's what we want to leave here with. Actionable items and a commitment that all of us will do something to address what you're going to hear about. We have an incredible speakers, and you're going to be provided with data. And so that's the goal, that we as community leaders, you're in higher ed, you're in K through 12, you're in nonprofit, you're in philanthropy. Together, can we innovate and come up with some actionable items? I know you're doing incredible work in your own area, but it also feels like we work in silos, and it is important that we collaborate. And more than anything, we want to make sure that you're meeting each other. This is an amazing group, and I hope that in the break that you find time to say hello to people that you don't know, because we're all in this together.
Pique continues the amazing work that was started by our founder, Dr. Ochoa. We continue to engage families. We've been doing that for nearly 38 years. But beyond family engagement, the organization uplifts parent voices across the state and across the nation. And we empower families to advocate for themselves, for their children, and for their communities. We continue, again, based on the amazing legacy that Dr. Ochoa has left behind, we continue to provide parent leadership in BIPOC communities, and we encourage civic engagement. We just took a group of 10 Pique parent ambassadors to Sacramento to meet with legislative offices to encourage Cal Grant reform and greater access, easier access to financial aid. We also took a cohort of families this year to DC, to Washington, DC, and did the same. Did a lot of advocating with federal legislators around access to quality childcare and immigration rights. So beyond family engagement, that's where it starts, but then we move that forward to parent leadership and advocacy, and encouraging advocacy at all levels of government.
So an important case that is used by the Office of Civil Rights since 1981 to the present are the Castañeda rulings, which I'm mentioning because it's important. And he asked three basic questions that in every school district in our nation needs to demonstrate in order to provide equal educational benefits to our children. And the first question is that the school district needs to demonstrate that what they're doing is pedagogically sound and based on theory. First burden of proof. Second burden of proof is that not only must you demonstrate that you're using effective pedagogy, but you need to provide the resources to implement the theory or the practice. And resources for an educator means that we have the principal in our schools that believes in what children need. And let's assume that is multilingualism. Do we have the principal who's going to internalize and operationalize such practice? And if so, then the second resource is, do we have the personnel, the teachers, the support staff that understands the needs of our children? Call it bilingual educators, multilingual educators. Thirdly, do we have the assessments in terms of monitoring the first and second language of our students, so we know what kinds of programs we need? The fourth is, do we have the programs in place that are based on educational pedagogy that promotes biliteracy or multiliteracy? So one of our standards at the end of high school graduation is that our students graduate with a high level of biliteracy, meaning cognitively, linguistically, and in terms of a critical mind. Then another requirement, do we have the curriculum in place to activate the biliteracy necessary? Next, do we have the parent support? Do we have the parent engagement that is necessary in order to create this collaborative relationship between schools and community? And here's where PK comes, the importance of PK. So when we talk about resources, is do we have the budget? And of interest is that the Supreme Court back in 1974 challenged San Francisco Unified by saying, well, how much ADA, average daily attendance, are our students generating? And in today's money, it's about $15,000 per child. So if you have a school of 400 students, multiply 400 or 500, depending on the school size, by ADA, and as a principle, the Supreme Court says, we understand that you need to reallocate resources, and we'll see some time, but money is not an excuse. Money is not an excuse. And there's a court case in California, Serrano versus Freeze, that challenged the reallocation of resources. And I think it's still debatable whether or not our schools are getting the right allocations. And that depends on categorical funds. Categorical funds are good, necessary, but those are extras. So the point of importance is that our students are generating ADA, and they have the right to pedagogical programs and resources. And the third question of Castañeda was, can you prove that what you're doing is effective? So the issue of evaluation becomes important. Not 1 year, but as a researcher, you need at least 3 consecutive years, or at least 5 years, to show that incremental growth is taking place. So those 3 questions become important tools for us to utilize with regards to making sure that we have the necessary practices in our schools. Again, do we have the pedagogical? First question, do we have the pedagogy? Second question, do we have the reallocation of resources to support the pedagogy? And third, did you demonstrate that it's effective?
The LCAPs. LCFF is how much money you get, and LCAP is how are you spending that money. And those are the 2 most important 4-letter words that you must know if you care about the future of education in California. Because this is how we make decisions from the local school level to the school board or school district level, and certainly from the state. And I'll be hosting a hearing, I think it's in October. This is my first year chairing the budget committee. And one of the things that I identified is that there is inequity in how we are funding our schools. Period. I mean, there's just no question about that. There are plenty of reports that are independent, not mine. D is one that comes to mind. The Public Policy Institute of California did one not long ago. Highly recommended. The research is very clear. The more resources you provide to a school, the more they'll be able to respond to the needs of that school, the better the school and the students in the school perform. Period. There is no other way about it. We currently do not do that in the state of California. And it's a little it's one of those things that people kind of don't want to talk about. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but that's the reality. Our school district, whether it's San Diego Unified, Sweetwater Unified, or smaller districts in this county, are not focusing their resources to where the needs are. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it has to be had. And it has to be led by all of you who are the community members. That's how we're going to create the change that we need. So I'm looking forward to the discussion. Dr. Ochoa has presented 3 questions. I think that's how the discussion is going to go. Certainly interested in listening on your feedback on that. But for example, question number 1, he talks about schools belonging to community. We now have invested over $5 billion in the last couple of years alone in something called community schools, directly tied to question number 1. But the question is, are we implementing community schools in a way that addresses the questions of schools belonging to community? That's the question that we need your help in assessing and your help in making sure that we implement the right way. So you've got the right questions that are being asked here and that are going to be discussed. It's now really about, can we come together and provide not only discussion but then policy recommendations, and that's what I'm looking forward to anyway. That's what my job is during the fall. The end of the legislative session and year was last August 31st, last Saturday. Still recovering from it, I can't remember when, but it was last Saturday at midnight we finished. And so this time of the year until January when we introduce legislation is about trying to understand what do we need to introduce, what policies need to change, how should we change funding formulas in order to accomplish that success. So that's my role here, and I appreciate Pique and Mana convening us all. It's actually really great to have education conversations in San Diego, not just in Sacramento, where you have stakeholders that are important, but perhaps represent different interests from other parts of the state. As you heard in my story, born and raised here in this community, raising my family now, I'm very vested and certainly want to get good work done for kids in San Diego, for the future generation, whether it's our university in Chula Vista or other programs in San Diego. But the impact here can be felt by Californians, literally millions of Californians. And so I look forward to that conversation again. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's not coming down. So the good thing I heard from the say the PK plan, that's working. If you're in that program, that's working. That's what we're talking about. That's very direct, very formalized versus everything else that's happening out there. And we need stories, by the way. Somebody said examples, etc.
It was more on identifying the programs that are working, especially with parents. And of course, we identify PK. But I was sharing the story, even Cajon Valley, one time, it was hard to bring that program to parents. Why? Because the schools are now very open for the parents to have the right for knowledge. Because I don't know if now it's different, but of course, PK has grown tremendously. But how we can ensure the parents who receive the information really becomes their own educational children advocates. So that's a question.
We have parents who are on these school site councils. Many of them don't know what an LCC, I don't even know the acronyms, but they're expected to approve and sign and move forward with the plan. And they do it, it's rubber stamped. So how do we go in and educate these parents so that they are empowered and become allies? And one of my colleagues here shared that UC San Diego has a parent university and even grandparent or ally parents university who provides certificates and course credit to train and host workshops like these. So how do we get these embedded into schools? How do we get them utilized and build awareness for that? Another piece that we looked at was who is training our educators? Who is teaching our teachers? And are they culturally proficient? And are they understanding the importance of bilingualism and of seeing the students and supporting the students and advocating for them? And how do we get to make sure that they are prepared and ready to support?
I'll focus on next steps. I think we talked about a lot about HSIs, and we talked about Hispanic Serving School Districts as well too, HSSDs, and how that's not necessarily a federal designation, and maybe talk about like some movement behind that. And then those that do have HSI designations, what does that actually mean in serving this, and getting some more movement around defining that and maybe some collaboration between that. Please help me out if I miss anything. I think we also talked about potentially any groups that help parents maybe who want to become board members, maybe training that. I think that's really important for parents in their leadership.
Several projects, local programs like the Barrio Logan College Institute also talked about these are all like pipeline programs like the Compact for Success at San Diego State. What's the other one? The College Avenue Compact. And so those are alternative ways of admitting working class students into university like San Diego State. I don't think we could identify a program like that at UCSD. We did discuss charter schools, but we didn't really have a unanimous opinion about that. I think we mentioned the importance of oversight of charter schools, and these support programs to keep them at no cost for parents is very important. We did talk also again, as you mentioned, they mentioned the importance of getting Chicano parents as school board members, and maybe part of the pathway to that is to become more involved on school site committees, governance councils, but that kind of training is very important. I don't know if we talked about this, but I just jotted it down, the importance of campus climates. So we have all these programs that are trying to get students to community college or the university, but what is the climate like for Chicano students when they arrive there? So who assesses that? We know there's a lot of scholarship now on Chicano student success in higher education and HSIs and so forth. So we know what needs to be done and what an equitable campus should look like, but who's assessing that?
Right now, with it being inclusive of everyone, which helps really establish the programs that are helping all of the students, not just one specific group. And we talked about the importance of cultural competency in physicians and doctors in all fields. And we need this because it's important to recognize that we all come from different backgrounds, and it's not just one plan for everyone that's gonna make us help us establish or achieve our goals. We need we need to acknowledge that we all come from different backgrounds and we need different resources. And I really support dual language programs. I graduated from high school with a CL of Biliteracy, and I was in dual immersion programs middle school and high school, and I know the benefits of these programs and how helpful they can be.
Later on, we knew they were closing the school because the city of El Cajon was converting or was having this condo conversion project. So they want all the low-income families to move from the area, so they closed the school. So we rallied. We organized hundreds of parents to request not to close the school. Unfortunately, they already had the agreement with the city. And it was at that time when we hear the concept of a charter school. And as I shared with the group that I was talking to, charters are not the answer to public education. Even we are a charter school, but that's not the answer. They are very good charters that are addressing the issues of low-income students, but the answer is how public education can improve for all the students, especially for those who are right now, the 55% who are Latino.